I discovered this world that you don't have to do everything. I discovered this world that you can get all the benefits of investing in real estate without having to actually do the work.
Welcome to the Fully Funded Show. Whether you're a capital raiser, deal sponsor, fund manager, or LP investor, we've got the insights you need for investing success. Join Sam Silverman each week for expert interviews, insider tips, and strategies to fully fund your ventures. Let's go!
All right, so we are back with the Fully Funded Show. Today we're with Dr. Jonny Walker, who I have the pleasure of meeting a handful of times in person, gone to some events together, working in their past as well. So rather than me go through his whole background, Jonny, why don't you share kind of your story and kind of high level with the audience today?
Yeah, sure. So, Sam kind of wanted me to talk about like where I came from, how I got to where I'm at right now. So I'll give a little bit of brief story. I come from a very poor immigrant family from Sri Lanka. My parents, both from villages where I had a chance to visit my father's village back in 2002. There's still no paved roads. There's no street lights. It was not uncommon to see people walking around without shoes on. The villagers literally, bathed with well water. It was like a culture shock. It was incredible for me to see. My mother's one of 7. My father was the youngest of 10. His parents died when he was very young, so he's raised by his siblings. And somehow, through persistence and ambition, somehow they made it out of the third world poverty loop of which was the fate of all villagers. Basically, you're born in the village, you die in grow up in the village, you die in the village. Somehow they made it out of that loop, made it to England, and then to North America. And to me, I equate that to Elon Musk colonizing Mars. Like the type of insurmountable odds, like to be able to, make it. And so my brother and I, we were both born in Canada. Like I said, we grew up in what's called government subsidized housing, where all poor immigrants went, as well as the poor people in the city, which is called in America project housing. We grew up in a pretty tough neighborhood, and people think, hey, it's Canada, like how tough could it be? And for perspective, Edmonton, the city we grew up, there's 1 million people, about 40 murders a year, which is phenomenally low compared to an American city, but 30 of those 40 murders were happening in our neighborhood. And a good percentage of those people, I either knew of them, or had a good idea who the assailant itself was. And so, the high school, I grew up with I ran in the neighborhood with some pretty undesirable characters. They were my childhood friends. Later on in their adult life, those that did make it to be adulthood were known by the Edmonton Police Department as gang affiliated. And so I kind of lived a double life. Did really well in school. My parents were like most Asian parents. They push you to do well in school, and he pushed us pretty hard. And because of that, I was top of my class all throughout high school, through junior high school. So I did well academically. I had the fortune of being pushed through some teachers that recognized hey, this is a bright kid. He's a smart kid. We need to get him to this academic school on the other side of the city, which I resisted. Somehow, we had to do an IQ test, aptitude test. They only take 80 students a year. I hated my dad for pushing me to going there. I wanted to go to the school where all my friends went, but that ended up being pivotal for me because I became a great student. I was surrounded by kids that were now trying to do things. These friendships endured into university, and I learned how to study in high school, got excellent study habits, and was surrounded by kids that were trying to do something with their lives. And because of that, when it came to university, I hit the ground running. I did very well through undergrad. I was popular. I had all of a sudden, girls liked me. I had a lot of friends, and it was like a great time in my life. The same time, some beef started happening with my friends back in the neighborhood, right? So now a beef is usually a skirmish or altercation between crews. Usually they reach a simmer. Most of them will die off, right? Some of them will escalate into a full boil. This particular beef went into a full boil. It ended up getting so bad, one of my good friends, he gets shot. They went back and forth. One of my friends gets stabbed in a bathroom when we're at a nightclub. One of our friends gets shot and killed. Our guys go and kill 2 people on their side before our guy's funeral even happens. Next thing you know, we're in a full-out beef. And I'm trying to go to school at the same time while all of this stuff is happening at the same time. I'm literally fearing for my life at this point. I start carrying a knife in my school bag because I'm afraid of when I'm waiting for the bus, when I'm waiting for the train, that I'm going to get attacked, right? So it was the joy in my life was gone at that time. By chance, I get into dental school at this time. My good grades and doing well in school, I get into dental school. And this fulfilled so many dreams for me at once, Sam, because number one, I was able to escape this hell of this stuff, all this stuff that's happening, all this trauma, and I get a chance at a new start. Number two, I get to go to America, which was my dream to go to, the greatest country in the world, the home of capitalism, and the place where anyone, no matter where you come from, whether you have money or not, you have the opportunity to chase the American dream. And number three, I was going to go to become dental school, right? Dental school is very competitive. It's hard to get into. And you have a pretty good chance of making a good income and having a good life if you become a dentist. At least that was my perspective. So I move to Howard University, Washington, D.C. I get into dental school there. I excel there too. I'm number one in my class. I win the dean's list. I got tons of awards. I'm on the Dental Honor Society, Omicron Gamma Upsilon, as well as was given a full tuition. To fast forward things, now I came to this country. I didn't have any connections, didn't have any mentors, didn't have any advisors, nobody to even talk to. But at that point, I had graduated and I went on to specialize. I became an endodontist. I went to New York University, moved to Manhattan, and I had, like I said, I had nobody to tell me anything, but I was teeming with the excitement of youth, and I had a heart filled with courage and ambition. So I did do some things right, though, right? I started making money. I started taking 25% of every dollar I earned, putting it into savings. The other 75%, I could spend on whatever I wanted. In retrospect, I could have been saving 50, 60, 70% of my income, but I was saving 25. And then all of a sudden, like a good American, Sam, I go and start increasing my consumption of goods and services. And I had a big, beautiful luxury apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows in Manhattan overlooking the East River, had a tennis court and swimming pool, things that are unheard of in Manhattan, underground parking where I had my first car that I ever bought when I was 28 years old was a blue Lexus. And then my second car I bought when I was 30 years old was a yellow Ferrari. I had both of them parked under my garage. So now all of a sudden I'm exposed to all these luxuries that I never even knew existed. And, and now my life is like, wow, I went from thinking $100 is a fortune to now making between $700 and $1,000 an hour. And it was unbelievable for me. And I was also buying real estate. And I started with single family homes. I quickly realized, hey, look, this isn't going to get me, making $200-300 a month of cash flow from each house isn't going to do anything significant to what I'm making as a doctor, right? So I started looking into commercial real estate. I dabbled into all kinds of small commercial real estate. I started with a strip mall, a parking lot, warehouse, industrial land. At that time, this was 2009, 2010 when I started, that whole thing about passive investing, that was not common jargon back then. I was looking for that. I didn't know it at the time, but I was looking for a parking lot because it could run itself and I could get income. I was looking at strip malls because we can have tenants with 10-year leases. They're professional tenants, they're triple net leases. I don't got to ever do anything. I don't got to go there. And one by one, each year, I would buy property. I get to 10 properties, multi-million-dollar commercial real estate portfolio, successful doctor. Now I got 2 kids. This guy's got it made, right? But wrong, right? Because the thing is, I was doing everything at a mediocre level. I was a doctor at a mediocre level. I was a real estate operator at a mediocre level. And I was a husband and father at a mediocre level, right? Because I just had too much stuff going on, too much It was taking up too much bandwidth. I couldn't add another property, right? I was missing my kids' important events, right? So I'm working like crazy to maintain this lifestyle. I'm working 6 days a week, right? So now I'm completely time poor. And, to make things worse, I go on and I say, listen, I'm going to move my family now. We have 2 kids. I'm going to move them to, I was watching Sopranos a lot at the time. I saw Tony Soprano. I'm like, listen, I need a house like Tony's. Look at all the space he has, this and that. I'm like, where in New Jersey does he live? I'm like, so we found somewhere around where Tony lives. I moved my family into a big mansion, 8 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, indoor swimming pool, indoor gym, movie theater. And it's like, that was the cherry on top now, right? Like, because now I'm maxed out. I have to work 6 days a week just to maintain this lifestyle. Kids are in private school, this, that. And the straw that broke the camel's back is when I missed my daughter's kindergarten recital, right? It was because I was working late, didn't have the time. And that night, Sam, I went home and I cried. I cried because I was just I was trying to do so much at once, couldn't handle all of these things at once. And I was just overcome with guilt, shame, because I was missing the apple of my eye's most important moments, right? My daughter. And to me, I'm an involved father. I want to witness the miracle of my children growing up, and I'm failing miserably at that. And so that was a straw that broke the camel's back, took me to do some real soul searching. I went down YouTube University. I started reading books, going down podcasts, talking to people, and I discovered this world of passive investing, right? I discovered this world that you don't have to do everything. I discovered this world that you can get all the benefits of investing in real estate without having to actually do the work. And I realized this whole world that you can focus on the things that you enjoy the most about real estate, as well as what you're within the realm of what you're really good at doing. For me, I loved analyzing deals and I loved raising capital from investors. And now all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, I can do all of that. I can still be involved with real estate. I can still acquire a ton of real estate. I can still do what I really like to do, what I'm passionate about. And I don't got to do all the other stuff that I don't like to do, like managing real estate and getting bids from different contractors I was doing all of that myself, right? So now it's like the whole thing changed. I started selling all my active real estate. I'd never sold a real estate before. I'd only buy. I was always, from what I'd read in books, the way that you make money in real estate is you buy and hold long term, right? And that's what I was doing. Now all of a sudden, I start selling everything. And I sold all my real estate, except for I have like maybe 2 active real estate, and now I'm gone completely passive. I convert everything to passive income. And so now I'm like, holy shit, this is the way to go. I learned this through the School of Hard. I went all in with real estate. Now I take a giant step back from my clinical practice to working an ideal schedule for me, part-time, 20 hours a week. Now I go on a regular date night with my wife. Now I take my children to school every day in the morning. Now I take my family on 6 to 8 vacations per year. I have time to do things I'm passionate about, doing stuff like this, meeting guys like Sam, working with guys like Sam. This is what I love doing. I love real estate. I love teaching fellow doctors on how they too can achieve what I'm achieving, financial freedom through passive investment in real estate. So I became an evangelist for this. By going all in just like that, I started focusing on raising capital. Now we've gone to this fund of funds route. And I'm having a blast doing it. I'm teaching a lot of people. I'm educating, as well as raising a ton of capital. I'm having a blast in life now, Sam. So that's in a nutshell. I know you wanted a quick overview.
So honestly, I think you've got real estate investor, you've got doctor, you've got family man now, and I think you can definitely add motivational speaking to that list at this point, which you can just hear the passion and excitement of your family's background, your journey here as to how you've got there around what you're doing, which is really cool to see. I think people in this world that are doing things they're passionate about, it's just a better place overall, working on things that actually excite you. And if you listen to the last few minutes, you can definitely hear that this excites you. So I think for you, right, going through all of that growing up and kind of just thinking differently, right now, what you're working on, like, how is your life different? How did you get into this place as well, right? Kind of walk us through those action steps that you took, and also kind of what's next for you as well, right? You've now proven that, hey, you can come from an area which may have not had the most opportunity and create opportunity out of nothing, right? And then also go work your way through the corporate world, right? You've gone the whole American dream of coming to a big city like New York, right? Showing you to be successful, find the material things, but now find the value in that time piece of it as well. Like, what's next for you? And really walk us through how you got there when looking at actually getting active in the space yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's next? I mean, like, listen, I wake up excited every day. I mean, I didn't realize that I'm also building a personal brand, right? When I started doing I have a YouTube channel. I have a Facebook group, as you know, Sam. Facebook group has been has been an absolutely incredible lead generating tool, as well as a lead nurturing tool. YouTube, more of a lead nurturing tool than a lead generator. We did a virtual summit about a month ago, which was awesome. I've had some speaking engagements lately, and we're looking to do a mastermind group for dentists to teach them how to invest passively in real estate. We're looking at bringing vetted operators to a group of dentists, high net worth dentists that are looking to take it to the next step on their investing journey. And I think that the dental space is completely lacking this. They lack the opportunity as well as the knowledge to participate in a lot of these private offerings. A lot of them know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other business. And it's like, I know this, but I don't know how to do it. I don't have the time to do it. I don't have the knowledge to do it. So what I kind of working on is like, how can I make it easier for these people to participate? How can I be that last mile to get them over the hump, right? And to me, that's been through education as well as access to opportunities. So I'm constantly thinking of ways that I can marry that and bring and try to solve that need for dentists, right? So they can get a good allocation into private offerings. I think that real estate, I wholeheartedly believe real estate is a much superior investment to stocks. And I think doctors should have more than a outsized allocation of their portfolio to real estate, right? So that's kind of what I do now. It's like, hey, how can I do this better? Writing a book. I'm going to do some property meetups on some existing properties we've invested in. Those are the type of things I try to work on. I try to pick guys like your brain, and I've joined Fully Funded to learn from Sam. He's actually excellent at, knowing his avatar and going at it in a systemized way. I've been very impressed by Sam for a long time. That's why I've sought out to obviously have a relationship with him, and we've grown into a friendship as well, which is awesome. And so I want to try to look at LinkedIn strategy. I know that you've talked a lot about LinkedIn, and I think that's next frontier for us as well. So
something I think Jonny does really well is looking at the investor profile in which he's targeting, right? His true investor is actually his former self, right? Someone who is, working a ton of hours, very low control of their schedule, very demanding type role in terms of clients, family, right? Someone who they're very successful in their own right, but it's very time driven. So I think something he does really well is really knowing who that profile of investor is. So if you're listening to this, looking at kind of working the space or working the space today, the better you know the investor avatar of who your dream investor is, the better off you'll be. And a big advantage someone like Jonny has is that he was that same person. Myself as well, where I'm really targeting people in the tech sales and tech sales leadership world, where I did that previously. So kind of help us understand how, because of your experience as a dentist, right? And endodontist, if I'm saying that right. And like how that experience there helps you better align to truly knowing what these people go through on a day-to-day basis to position what you're doing to really align to what they're doing. Right? I think something that you likely nail in your process is, how do we create win-win scenarios for people like that? I think at times people think of the sales and customer-facing type roles as more of an I win, you lose scenario, when looking at what you're doing, I think the background you have is really creating win-win scenarios for people in this role. So help us understand what that looks like right now.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. And actually, you were one of the guys that were very helpful to me in really narrowing down my focus. Like when I first started, I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to do this for all doctors. I'm going to be the guy for doctors. I don't care if you're a physician. I don't care if you're a surgeon. I don't care if you're a veterinarian. I don't care if you're a chiropractor. I don't care if you're an orthodontist. Lump them all together as doctors. And that isn't as useful to me. When I started niching down, so, okay, look, now I'm not going to just focus on those guys, doctors. I'm only going to focus on dentists, right? I niched down even more. And that was even, and the thing is that people think that, hey, look, there's only this many X amount of pilots in the country, or there's only 50,000 pilots or 100,000 pilots in the country. You don't need 100,000 investors. You need 100 to 200 to 300 solid investors that invest with you every single year, and you can raise all the capital you need. Once you realize that, and then I started niching down even more, now I don't just focus on dentists, because there's dentists, the average dentist makes $180,000 a year, and there's a lot of dentists that make $180,000 a year, and then there's dentists that make there's a lot of dentists that make $2 to $3 million a year. Most of the guys that are making $2 to $3 million a year, they're business owning dentists. So I started focusing strictly on dentists, successful business owning dentists, right? Because they're the ones that they don't have a lot of time. They're busy grinding and building this incredible business that's generating them millions of dollars of revenue, tens of millions of dollars of revenue. And so for them, if they find a place that they can trust, somebody they can trust, they know that they can write big checks every year without even thinking about it too much. So niching down, I'm all about that, right? I went from all doctors to completely niching down to not even just dental. I'm looking only at specialists and dental business owners, right? And that's where my marketing and targeting. And now you brought you back to the thing where you asked, like, how do I go about this? It's like, I am a dentist. I've been through the burnout. I know exactly what it is. I know what the pain points of a dentist are. The pain points of me as a dentist might be very different from a veterinarian, right? So maybe there are some similarities, but I don't know what a veterinarian's day-to-day is. I know what a dentist's day-to-day is. I know that we work too much. I know that we feel burnout. I know that we get lower back pains. I know we get shoulder pains. I know we get elbow pains. We get carpal tunnel syndrome. I know that we are worried about not spending enough time with our children, because if the more successful our business gets, the more patients that are coming in the door, the more doctors we have working for us, the less time we have outside of it. And knowing these pain points, because I know them innately, I know them very, very intimately, it's very easy for me to talk about it, right? It's very easy for me to lean in and talk about it from a personal level where I'm hitting you at your heart, because I know what those pains. And the more that you can get very specific and target those people, especially you put up a post, are you spending enough time with your children? You're missing, if you hit somebody that was thinking about their kids when they left to work that day, when they went to go see patients, that post is going to hit them right there. And you're going to capture that attention, and right away, they're going to relate to you. And they're going to listen to what that post or read what that post has to say. I mean, to me, that niching down is really, for me, is niching down and getting really specific, I would say, has been ultra helpful, especially over the last 8-10 months. I mean, that's when I really started really niching down and started seeing a lot of results because of that.
Yeah, a really big point you make is that when people first start, I know we had this conversation a while back as well, is that when you first start, you think of, I want to go really wide to make sure I can go capture a huge audience. And what you quickly realize is that the more you try and speak to everyone, the less you speak to anyone. And how intimately you know the people you're targeting and speaking with, the more relevant you can be, right? I think you make a great point in saying that you only need a few hundred investors. If you have a few hundred loyal investors that you do right by, and you consistently show good faith in terms of the project's performance, in terms of how you communicate, how ethical you are, how transparent you are, the experience you give them, one, those people typically have friends that are in similar positions themselves. If you do right by them, you have referrals coming pretty quickly. And second, you have the lifetime value of those people as well. It can be extremely high if they're people who are actually making $1, $2, $3 million a year. Another really great point you made too is that when people first start, they may focus on a persona or a target investor that may not be the right fit for the reason that they don't make enough money. Nothing's wrong with them making 180 grand a year. That's a great living. But if you start playing it out, say you live in a big city, you're paying taxes, you have a family to go support, there may not be that much left over there to actually go invest in projects very regularly. So if you're going to go all in on targeting a certain persona of people, make sure that person can go big with you as well when you get them. So the tie back as well when looking at your post and your content, the more you know those people, the better off you typically are. So kind of what's your advice to someone who may be starting out and really figuring out, who do I go target? Who should I try and go speak to as I look to build my business now?
I mean, a big thing that I learned, and this actually does work if you go and do it, is if you know who your ideal investor is, right? Like, you know, this, I just need a whole bunch of more of this person. Interview that person. You know, you can get a plethora of information from them. Ask them what keeps them up at night. Hey, when you're laying in bed at night and, you know, and there's nobody to talk to except for your own mind, what's keeping you up at night? There's a huge amount of information that you can get from that question, right? So, okay, well, you know, and if that person is a really successful of your avatar, then chances are those same problems that he has, the same things that he worries about inside is probably what your other ideal people are also feeling that way. So I would say interviewing somebody, and I actually have done this. I've interviewed like 3 of my ideal people. Go back. I made a transcript of it and exactly what their words are. Sometimes just copy and paste it. I'm like, have you ever thought this way? You know, and that's like, to me, that's a free and easy way to gain a lot of insight, especially if you're just starting. And if you don't know the pain points of that industry yet, I mean, talk to the people that are successful. You know, the more information that you can gather, and like I was just alluding to, more specific, very specific to that particular person. That's how you speak to those people, you know, and you capture their attention right from the beginning, is knowing that. I think it's worth the time to learn the pain points and learn the exact wording that people use for those pain points, and really, you know, listening. I think whoever listens the best will win in this case, and that's true. It's not that you're smarter than anybody else, but you can listen to what they're saying and read between the lines a little bit and kind of tailor the content, your content and your message based on that.
Yeah, it's also framing too, right? I think a big thing is like actually going back and seeing the transcript of those conversations, because Jonny and I will be having the same conversation, saying in different ways, and that if you use his words versus mine when speaking to me, it may not hit home as well, right? So actually using their words and those, you know, vernacular they use, the tone they use, it plays a huge part in it. So to kind of shift gears a bit as well, you know, being kind of the fund-to-fund or capital allocator role right now in a passive position, there's 2 things I want to dive into. One is, how do you really go about building trust with your investors? And second, when looking at how you go find your partners, right? In terms of the more operational type partner project, due to being more of the allocator passive type role, what kind of process do you use to go vet those people? Just as a lot of your success then ties to their success too. So help us understand how you think about those 2 things.
This is something I'm trying to work on getting data on, and we just need some more time to really get accurate data. Is, you know, how long does it take from when that investor gets to know me, whether they join my Facebook group, to the point that they write a check, right? I'm estimating that it's somewhere around 50 to 60 days. That is a long time, probably for a guy like Sam, right? Like for me, you know, obviously the less time it takes to convert, obviously the better, ideally. But I believe that we're doing a pretty good job with it. I mean, 60 days isn't an overly long time, as long as you're consistently adding people into your group and to your list. There should be a pipeline where you're getting consistently new investors every month. which is kind of what's happening right now.
And so one more thing, sorry to jump in there as well.
Yeah.
In that 60 days, what are you doing? So I think a really important thing here is to notice that you always want top of the funnel people coming in, right? In terms of new people coming to join your group, start seeing your content, but walk us through how you nurture that person in those 6 days to go from, okay, this looks interesting to, you know what, I trust Jonny and I want to go partner with him on these projects.
Yeah, sure. Well, I have a weekly live show, right? I go live in my Facebook group every week. I have a video that I post on YouTube every week, right? We have a video blog every week. I have a live every week. I'm posting 1 to 2 to 3 times a week on Facebook. It's a cumulative effect. Obviously I have a website that I maintain as well, has all our deals and previous things and ways to contact us. I believe that as soon as they kind of get into our world, our community, they can see that there's been work being done, right? Like YouTube's video's been up for 2 years. Also, what I noticed when people schedule calls with me, and this is a lot of them, is, hey, I came into your Facebook group. You might have caught my attention. I see that you're posting a lot. I see a lot of credible people in here also commenting and posting on your stuff. This automatically makes me feel that you're more credible. But one of the biggest things is the fact that they go down this pathway and they realize they find their way to my YouTube channel. And then they go and binge watch a bunch of videos. The thing is about binge watching, right? It's like, imagine you go and try to meet this person and have a 1-hour conversation with them. You try to give as much information as you can in the hour. You overload them. Whereas now, all of a sudden, now they go and watch this content at their leisure, and they're watching it, and they're finding these stuff that, wow, this is really useful. This is something, because all my YouTube content is curated for a dentist, right? So it's from the perspective of a dentist. So now they start binge watching a bunch of videos. This gets instant. Now I've built a whole bunch of time where I've been in their ear. They're seeing my face. They're seeing my voice talking. They know how I deliver messages. They know my approach to investing. This is incredibly powerful, I believe. And then it's like, wow, this is the guy. And you develop a parasocial relationship, right? Like going back to Sopranos, if James Gandolfini passed away, but if I seen him, I wouldn't say, hey, James. I would say, yo, Tony, right? I feel like I know him in a way, right? And this is what the relationship that starts to happen with, for me with YouTube, and that's why I go live as well, so that people can see my faces. They get to know you. And by the time you talk to them, they already feel like they kind of know you. On top of that, you've been educating them this whole time. You automatically are the authority and credibility in that space because they're getting all the information from you. And the way that we're programmed is like whoever's in front of us on the TV talking is an authority figure, right? Like whether it's true or not, that's how we psychologically feel. And so by the time now they've gone this rabbit hole, they watched a bunch of videos, they've been seeing me, now they schedule a call with me. I don't have to sell myself, right? I don't have to talk. We're already past that. I don't have to prove myself. I don't say, yeah, we've done X, Y, and Z. I've done that. They've already feel that this is the guy for them. And it's like, hey, look, what do you have, basically? What deals do you have? Or how does it work? And I'm ready. I got $500K in the bank right now. That's not doing anything. What do you have? And it's almost already done by that time. And so, it took a lot of effort and time to get this YouTube channel up. I had to dedicate. And the guy told me, one of my early men, actually Michael Blank, he helped me set up this whole platform. And he's like, you can't be married to the results. You got to just keep putting out content because everybody will start a podcast. Everyone will start a YouTube channel. They'll do it for 3 months. They'll do it for 5 months, 6 months, not see any traction and then quit. But then a few people just keep putting the content out. I was getting 15 views on my videos. And one of them is my mom. Like she watches all my videos still till this day. God bless my mom. But, I didn't get a lot. But now it's like, okay, so I just kept doing it though. Like they said. And eventually you get some traction and then it starts to, like I still don't have a huge channel, but I got 2,500 dentists. Majority of them are dentists, right? And That's a good, for me, for a small, for the niche that I'm in, that's a huge sample size, right? So 2,500 is a lot. And I'm getting, 1,000 to 1,500 views, which it didn't start like that, which I'm 2.5 years in. Now I'm getting all the value of it because a video I did and when I asked these guys, hey, which video did you really like? And they tell me, oh, the one you did on student loans. And that was a video I did 1.5 years ago. Well, that tells me that's the immense value of that video, right? And so it's always up there. The video I do today, I'm going to record after I talk to you here. I'm going to record some videos. It might be an potential investor that watches it 2 years from now, right? But it's still providing you service and value. And you've only done it once, and you've done it and you put it away. And it's like, so that content goes a long way to creating credibility, right? I know you've done it with long form content. I'm already starting to kind of look at that. I'm excited to get some more, insight from you from Fully Funded about that strategy. And, so it's that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, you nailed it in the sense that when you look at the content creation piece of it, what it really helps is it helps someone go from, okay, who is this person, to I now know, potentially like and trust this person as well. And it helps accelerate that part of the funnel for you, where you may get on calls sometimes and I'm like, oh, you're Dr. Jonny, right? Like they have that feeling as though you're celebritized in a way where they know you, right? They know who you are, they know how you think, they know how you operate, and they're appreciative of getting in that call. And also, I think a huge point you made, I talked to a friend about this recently with a podcast, just other long form content you're doing, is that you are essentially compensated well below your hourly rate at first doing content, right? Like you may have stuff you put tons of hours into that you don't see a return on it for years. But in the future, that content will pay you dividends going forward for so long. So I think it's a part of that journey of being an entrepreneur or owning a business or whatever it may be, is that you may be compensated at a fraction of what you're worth up front, but then going forward, it'll pay dividends exponentially for you, which I think you're now seeing in how you're utilizing content. And a great point you made too is that content you can use over and over and over again, and helps people understand how you think and how you operate, as you have limited time to go talk to every person every day. That content you share, they can go back and look at it. If someone reached out to you a question saying, hey, and what's your take on this? We actually recorded a video a few years back on this. Our view hasn't changed in this topic. Go watch it, check it out. Let us know what you think. I think you've done a great job at, leveraging your story, your personal brand, in doing so to make those conversations a lot more warm and a lot more intentional with how you're holding them.
Yep.
So to kind of shift gears to the second part of that question before we wrap up here as well, in your business, a big part of your business is finding the right partners to go partner with on the active side of the real estate projects you're doing. Like, what does that process look for you to go say, hey, this group or this team is someone I want to go kind of dive deeper with, and then this group or this team is someone I actually want to go work with? Like, what does it look like for you and kind of your business today?
Yeah, so this is I take it really seriously. Like with my own money, I'm a little bit more cavalier. I take a lot more chances with investments and stuff. But when it comes to other people's capital, other doctors' hard-earned money, and I know how hard it is to make money, I take it very seriously, right? So to me, 50% of any deal that I'm getting into in terms of weight is the operator, right? The who is the most important part, rather more than the asset class itself or even the where you're investing in the market. It's who that group is. So I take my time to really get to know those people. I think that's a relationship that I develop over time. I usually go to conferences and things like that, and I join mastermind groups. And that's where I've met people initially, right? But as of recently, as you know, there's some fund manager groups that I joined with. Sam is familiar with one of them that I'm part of, and with those fund manager groups, I've got tremendous value from that group because it's a more robust and systemized way to approaching the due diligence aspect of the operator, and as well as the asset class and the market. And what we do is there's a robust 220 point due diligence checklist. About a third of it goes to each category: the sponsored, looking at all the different aspects of the sponsor and evaluating them, the core people, their values, their track history, investor testimonial, etc. Thorough due diligence on the debt structure, on the asset, underwriting the asset itself, looking at the assumptions that the pro forma has, etc. So that due diligence level has been a lot better with that group. And to me, that allows us to really get more access to deal flow, more access to different operators, right? So instead of me having to go develop that entire relationship with that person, it might be one of the other fund managers that also has an excellent track record and somebody I implicitly trust, and they've had excellent track history with this group. That fast forwards that timetable for me with this group, right? Because somebody I know and trust as a fund manager, now they're bringing somebody that they've had a lot of success with. We underwrite deals together, right? So as a result, we get perspective of different fund managers. They're asking questions. They have different experiences. They have different levels of, even knowledge of different asset classes, asset types. And that collective brain trust allows us to do much more thorough due diligence, where much more access to a varied amount of different types of asset classes. So that is something that's very recent, as you know. It's been in the last 3 or 4 months, but it's a model that I'm very comfortable with, because what that ultimately allows me to do is bring the best product to my investors, right? The best trusted, vetted, de-risked opportunity as possible to my investors.
Yeah, that's huge. I think, you nailed it first, is the people on the operating side matter the most more than anything else, right? It's the who you're working with. But also it's a great use of the people around you in community, right? In terms of the ability to go say, hey, what's your experience been working with this person? I think this industry is small enough, and you make a great point too of your own money, you lose it, who cares, right? You lose $1, it only costs you $1. You go bring $1 investor capital in, you lose that, that'll cost you a lot more than $1 reputationally. So I think Jonny does a great job getting himself out there to the place where investors feel comfortable with him, because he's a big social brand now. They know that he has online credibility that he built up over years, that he wants to make sure he does whatever he can to go protect that. So really great use in terms of the social branding, and also the community aspect too, in terms of having resources. Hey, what was your experience working with this group? Was it positive, was it negative, right? And then all of us going through a process and going through, okay, here are the 200 steps we're going to go check through the boxes of seeing is something we are comfortable working with. So super helpful to hear your story, really inspirational, kind of looking at the path that you and your family have come to get to where you are. And, you made the true American dream going through that process. Now you have the actual dream of, you have time with your family, you do stuff you're passionate about, you can hear it in your voice when you talk about it. So before we wrap up, just any bit of advice for people who maybe in a similar spot to you, whether they are in, whether they're a doctor or dentist, maybe in the corporate world, and looking to go buy back that time so they can really have that time with their family and really focus on what actually matters. So again, thanks for coming on, but any kind of parting words in that sense too?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I want to listen. I believe that people have, and I think every single person watching this has unlimited capacity and untapped potential, right? Human potential. Never underestimate that. I believe that you need to believe that to your core and have an immutable belief that you are capable of achieving anything and everything that this world has to offer in our short time here. So, I challenge you to go after it, right? I challenge you to dream lofty dreams and achieve everything that you can, because it is possible. And I think you should be driven in America. This is an American thing to say, is you should be driven by what you're passionate about, right? Do what excites you. Because if you wake up excited every day, that's an amazing feeling, right? Like, I love doing this stuff. Today I looked at my calendar, I see my boy Sam Silverman's on the calendar. I'm like, this is awesome, right? So I challenge you. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. People reinvent themselves all the time. There's 75-year-olds that take up mountain climbing and have climbed Mount Everest. And so don't ever discount that the human being has truly unlimited capacity and potential.
There's not much I can add to that as well. But again, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. It's been fun.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fully Funded Show. If you enjoyed today's insights, hit follow, share with your investing pals, and drop us a review. Connect with us on social media for bonus content. Your success is our mission. Keep those funds flowing. See you next time.